Welcome, everyone, to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name is Jared Mello. If you enjoy videos about narcissism, radical self-respect, relationships, interviews, and some supplements, this is the channel for you. Tomorrow, this is the announcement, I'll be interviewing Dimming the Gaslight. He is on Instagram, then dimming_the_gaslight. And he's also got a podcast on Apple and Spotify. But we'll be talking about how narcissists weaponize their children and parental alienation. So make sure you stay tuned for that. That will be at a little after 11 a.m. tomorrow. And also, I haven't done this for a while, but I'm going to tell you the origins of the expression get out of Dodge. And it's not what I thought it would be. So at the end of this stream here, make sure you stay tuned to what the meaning of get out of Dodge is and where it came from. But today, what I want to talk about is storytelling and how narcissistic people, they love to tell stories. And of course, what I really mean when I say they want to tell stories is they lie. And their lies can be really fantastic, and they can be really tall tales similar to that of what children would say. And say maybe you confront a kid, did you take that cookie? They'll come up with this wild tale, this work of fiction about what they really did, but they definitely didn't take the cookie. And that's what narcissists, when they tell stories, that's what it reminds me of. I'm going to give you a couple different antidotes today, too, in my own life of stories that I've heard. But when you really see them as the 5-year-old that they can be mentally, these stories make much more sense. But if you're not ready for it and you're not prepared and you don't understand narcissism and what they can do, these stories can really be crazy making, and they can get you to second guess yourself. They can invalidate you. It can be a version of gaslighting too in some cases. And this is especially true if you try to call someone out for cheating. They will give you a whirlwind of stories. And even if you show them evidence, right, they're going to say somehow it was still your fault that they cheated, right? That's what they're going to say. But narcissists do like to be the heroes and the victim of all of the stories they tell. So when they tell a story, they're either going to be that victim or they're going to be the hero. And the two antidotes I'm going to share are when a girl that I was dating who was narcissistic, and we weren't boyfriend or girlfriend or anything, and this girl definitely used that to her advantage too. But there was a couple different stories she told. And the first one was when she flew out to San Francisco to meet a guy friend of hers, which, considering she had been love bombing me to high heavens, when she did that, something about it rubbed me the wrong way. So she went out there to see this guy, and I asked her what she did that night. And then, you ready for it? Here comes one of the narcissistic stories. So she had said what had happened was when they went to the parking lot to his car, they found out there was a hole in his windshield that someone threw a rock through his windshield. And they spent the whole night looking for the person that threw a rock in his windshield. Now, what is this? This is her story of the guy kind of being the victim and them trying to be like the detectives. Who did this? Who put the hole in the windshield? When in all likelihood, what really happened was she just went home to that guy's house and they hooked up. That's as far as it went. But instead, she couldn't even just say some simple story. It had to be a fantastical story of, no, someone put a hole in his windshield and we had to search for him all night and we couldn't find him. But it was all just a distraction, a deflection from what she really was doing, which was getting with this guy. And I didn't know at the time, but she was getting with a lot of different guys. She was a sugar baby too, so getting with guys was no big thing to her. And I didn't know she was a sugar baby at the time either, but now you live and learn. Another version of her doing this was she was supposed to come to a movie premiere with me where I was in some low budget movie and I had a small speaking part in it. And there was the premiere and I invited her to this premiere, But instead of her being able to join me to this premiere, she had said that she had tried to sell a laptop to somebody, but the guy tried to steal it from her. She had to chase him down and hit him over the head to get her laptop back. And at first, I even believed this story. I was like, "Oh man, are you okay? Oh man, I'm really sorry that happened. I hope you're okay." And then I took a step back from it and I was like, "Wait a minute. Is that really what happened? Did she really all of a sudden today try to sell a laptop and the guy tried to steal it from her?" And even that part wasn't as unbelievable, but the next part of her having to chase him down and hit him over the head to get the laptop back, that's when I finally said, "No, you know what? This wasn't true at all. This is just another one of the narcissist stories. The story of, I'm not going to tell you what really happened. I'm not going to tell you why I'm blowing you off, but I'm going to tell you this story just like how a kid would describe or give an antidote of, I wasn't stealing the cookie. This is what I'm doing instead. This is what happened. My sister did it, or my brother did it, or just fill in the blank with whatever. It is all just a deflection to get the attention off of the behaviors that they do not want you to call them out on. And again, even with the cheating part of it, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. So technically, I couldn't say a word anyway. But that's not even the point with them in this. They enjoy pulling one over on you. So even though technically I have no leg to stand on to be upset if she's going to get with somebody else, but they have this thing called duper's delight where they enjoy seeing you squirm and they enjoy the triangulation of it. And that's part of what was going on too. When she was telling me, I'm going to see this guy, that's triangulating. And the fact that it made me uncomfortable made it even more fun for her. And it gave her that duper's delight. And the reason why I know this too was she came with me to get a tattoo and she was showing me pictures from this trip. And then a picture showed up where it was him and or her and this guy. And the guy had his arm around her. And she pretended to be all embarrassed that I saw this picture. But she knew this it was clear as day that it was going to come up. She knew it was going to happen. And she just enjoyed making me jealous and she enjoyed seeing me squirm. That's the difference between how a narcissist will triangulate versus how the reason why a borderline will triangulate. Narcissists enjoy making you uncomfortable and seeing you squirm. It gives them a feeling of superiority and power. When a borderline does it, generally speaking, they want to make you jealous so that you will love them more. Because a borderline, generally, what they want is the ideal love. Narcissists, they like supply in many different kinds of forms. Now, some people might prefer people, but they often will like supply from all sorts, many different people at once. But there are other narcissists that want power first and foremost, and for others it's money, for others it's ideal beauty or to be at the top of whatever industry they're in. They come in many different shapes and sizes, but the borderlines, they triangulate to get you to love them more, generally speaking. And another example of her and the duper's delight was I was in her room one day and there was a condom wrapper on the bureau. And it wasn't a condom wrapper that I put there. And when I saw it, I pointed it out and she acted all embarrassed again and hid in the bathroom. And she acted like she was really upset that I had found this. But in reality, who leaves a condom wrapper on the bureau, especially when you're going to have another guy over and it wasn't that guy's, it wasn't mine. So those things, I don't think it was an accident, but she enjoyed making me uncomfortable. And even though she acted like she was upset, like I caught her in something, but that was more like her childlike defenses where maybe she just felt guilty that, yeah, she was guilty. She did do this, but she lied and said it happened way before it actually did happen, right? It happened recently. She said it happened 6 months ago. And it's like, you left a condom wrapper on your bureau for 6 months? Really? But looking back, this is how I know I was pretty gullible back then. There was all sorts of things that I needed to be looking at on my own side of the street. And when you have a gut feeling about something, when something doesn't feel right, explore that feeling. The same thing goes with red flags in the beginning, too. If something doesn't feel right, you feel unsettled by something, get to the bottom of it and don't let them brush it off. Make sure you get to the bottom of whatever it is, because they will love to deflect. They will love to try to flip the script. They may even try to give you some sort of plausible answer, which might be the trickiest to uncover, but because sometimes they can work. The plausible but yet untrue answers are the hardest ones to determine if they're a lie or not. But when you see those red flags, get to the bottom of them, even if it starts a fight, because one small fight in the beginning could possibly save you months to years of a major headache. So do not be afraid of that conflict. And let's face it, a lot of the people that fall prey to a narcissistic person, they do not like conflict. They do not like those uncomfortable situations. And don't get it twisted, a narcissistic person absolutely knows that. They know the people that aren't the biggest fan of conflict. They know the people that it's going to be very uncomfortable for them to bring up and call them out on certain things. So you got to be able to stand up. And when you see those red flags in the beginning or things that make you uneasy, get to the bottom of them. Because at worst, what would happen is, okay, there was nothing really to be worried about. So then that person, if they're a good person and you're going to be a good team with each other, you're going to say, okay, yeah, I see what you did there. I understand why you did that, but it's cool. It's cool. Now, but if someone's guilty and someone does have things to hide, then they might actually get upset when you try to uncover those red flags. So pay attention to that too. They're going to be upset when you try to ask them about something to watch out for. Now, again, though, to put the shoe on the other foot, if a lot of it is how you say something too, because I get it. It's not fun to be accused of something that you didn't do. This is true. But how you go about it and how you get to the bottom of it, that says a lot. But get to the bottom of those red flags, whatever they are. So if you think they're cheating or something, or telling you lies, those are not things to ignore. Get to the bottom of those. Your future self will thank you. And a small conflict then can prevent a whole mountain of terrible issues. But this all stems with the narcissist storytelling. If they're going to tell stories that they'll often be the hero or the victim of, watch out for that. Do not let it make you second guess yourself. Do not let it invalidate you, and do not let it gaslight you. But recognize them for what they are, a narcissistic adaptation, that of like a 5-year-old who got his hand stuck in the cookie jar, and they're talking from that level of perspective. And when you remember that, I think it'll be easier to not get pushed off of our emotional center, and it will be easier to not let it really bother us, and we'll be able to act accordingly. So that's the video for today about narcissistic storytelling. And as promised, though, I'm going to give the origins of the get out of Dodge saying. And I had no idea this was such a recent expression, but there was a 1950s radio show, and it turned into a television show. But there was a fictional lawman in this show called Marshall Dillon. And the city they were in was Dodge City. The show was called Gunsmoke. And Marshall, he would always want the villains to get out of Dodge. And so as they would say it, the fictional lawman of the series, Marshall Dillon, was known for exhorting bad men to move on or to get out of Dodge. So the get out of Dodge saying is from the show Gunsmoke, which was first a radio program, and then it turned into a TV program. And they would want the people to get out of Dodge. So that was the origins of the Dodge City in the show Gunsmoke. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I'm going to bring up some of these sayings too as I hear them. And I think, yeah, where did that expression come from? Let's dig into that there. So that was the origins of that. And again, before I bid you all adieu here. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you like what I talk about here: narcissism, radical self-respect, relationships, interviews, etc. Hit the notification bell. Maybe share this video with someone that you think might benefit. And stay tuned tomorrow for my interview with Dimming the Gaslight. It'll be a little after 11 a.m., and that'll probably be live. But we're going to talk about how narcissists weaponize their children and how they can alienate the other parent. And that is an extremely frustrating thing, because co-parenting with a narcissist is one of the hardest things you'll have to do. And a lot of it comes down to our own emotional self-control in that scenario. Not jading, not justifying, arguing, defending, or explaining, and just keeping our peace and keeping our cool. And it's hard. I'm not even going to pretend it's easy. It's hard, but I think the benefits will be worth it. So remember to check out this interview tomorrow too. I'm really looking forward to it. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.